Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my 13.9-inch budget banger Ballistic Advantage Hanson build. To give a little background on this build, previously my experience with Ballistic Advantage was, I believe it was 2021. I purchased one of their 14.5-inch uppers, complete uppers. It was their modern series, so their standard barrels. I bought it again. That was my first budget banger. I wanted something just to kind of beat on a little bit, just have some fun with it, and mainly just because it was so cheap. Different times of the year, Ballistic Advantage runs some pretty incredible sales, ranging from 20 to 40% off of various uppers, barrels, whatever it may be. And I believe at that point, if I remember correctly, it was 40% off. A buddy of mine had forwarded me the link, got me kind of interested in it, so I went ahead and decided to pick up a 14.5. Didn't have an AR in that length. Also, knew I wasn't going to SBR it, so I was going to have to pin and weld a flash hider on it. And as far as for a lower, I just picked up a Palmetto State Armory Mo complete lower. Got that one in, changed out a couple parts on it, mainly the trigger and the buttstock. Nothing crazy. The grip also, I believe. And slapped it together, and that was I think I had a Holosun 515 optic on there, but it ran great. Didn't have any problems with it whatsoever. It was actually very surprisingly pretty dang accurate, but of course I didn't run it very hard. I didn't run through the mud or shoot thousands of rounds through it. Just did a couple of flat range trips with it, and was relatively happy with it. And at that time, I wasn't even thinking about buying a suppressor yet. So as far as having a flash hider pin and welded on it, standard A2 birdcage flash hider wouldn't be long enough to bring it to the legal 16 inches without making it a NFA item. So I ended up going with the Yankee Hill Phantom. I'll probably discuss this further in another video. So just going back to where I am now, I wanted something to do kind of a budget banger part 2, something that was a little bit nicer and something that I was going to be able to run my suppressor on. And also at the same time, I wanted to get it maybe even a little bit shorter. So looking around at this point, I knew that I was had a Huxwork HXQD suppressor in the approval process, and I wanted to put on one of their suppressor mounts. Come to find out, the standard flash hider or muzzle brakes that they make would not extend a 13.9 or 13.7 long enough. And I happened to accidentally stumble across an extended version of their flash hider, you see here, which was offered by Triarch, and I believe also Bauer Precision has it for sale also. So the extended flash hider, which is interestingly enough, if you go to Huxworks webpage, they don't even have it listed. But again, Triarch and Bauer Precision seems to be the only ones that offer it. Bringing in their standard flash hider that I have on my Mark 18. Let's see if I can get this lined up so you can tell. You can see the overall length differential there. The extended one, adding just enough length on there to allow you to get a 13.9 pin and welded to get you to the legal overall length of 16 inches. So kind of the cool part about this flash hider, besides making my 13.9 long enough to be a non-NFA item, if you purchased it from Triarch, and I believe the price was $130, maybe $120, something like no more than $130, they would pin and weld a flash hider on there for free. So that was definitely a huge plus. My 14.5, when I set it to ADCO, I believe it cost $65 to have it pin and welded. So while it costs a little bit more than what you would normally pay for the standard flash hider, getting it pin and welded for free was basically a huge bonus. So going into this build a little further, I knew again I was going to go ahead and buy a complete upper. At this point in time, I was not prepared to start a full build. I didn't have the tools yet. I didn't have enough knowledge and insight into it. So I knew I wanted to buy a complete upper. Was going to wait again on one of their big sales. But I did also want to build a lower myself complete. Have changed out plenty of parts on lowers to almost say that I had built one, all with the exception of the bolt catch. But I had changed out everything else. I had changed out mag releases, safeties, changed different grips. Oh, and also I had never installed takedown pins or pivot pins, but I knew it couldn't be that difficult. So it's always been the upper that's been a little bit, or used to be a little bit more scary for me. So Going to the website. I believe at this point in time, were running a 30% off sale. Um, Me being the impatient person that I am, I did not want to wait, and I just went ahead and purchased it. The Hanson series. What makes it a little bit different? Let me go ahead and pull this apart for you. So, the Hanson series profile or Hanson profile series barrels, it's kind of their own thing. Um, Doing some background information on it. It's you. They pretty much say that you get the benefits of a lightweight barrel without any of the weaknesses of it. They remove material where they can, without making it a compromise in the accuracy. They say that they add some back here to help mitigate recoil. I don't know if that's just a marketing ploy or if it actually helps. You can't tell on the upper receiver, but where the shoulder is, there is no right angle for the gas block. It's more like a tapering design. And again, they say that is by design, and it helps more with keeping the strength from the barrel, even though it is very thin. It does have an 11-degree target crown. It is CMV, um, CMV, sorry, 4150 CMV with a QPQ corrosion resistance finish. Back here, it has a nickel boron coated M4 extension. In addition to that, it does also have a low profile gas block that is actually pinned, which you probably can't see on the camera here because of the lighting. Let's see if I can get some light to shine in on you. There you go. You can see it right there. Their gas blocks are actually pinned on. I don't remember if they're also screwed down. Obviously, my Slate Black Industries M-Lock cover is covering that up. Not that it would really need it. I think the pin gas blocks are really one of the most secure designs that you can get. And when you buy their enhanced upper, the receiver that it comes on is, I'm sorry, their Hanson upper. The receiver that you get is their enhanced. So anybody who doesn't already know it, Ballistic Advantage was acquired by Aero Precision some years back. So any of their enhanced receivers are basically the exact same as the Aero Precision M4E1s. They just have different roll marks on them. Obviously, the upper there's no roll marks on the upper, but there's on the lower. So, and also on top of that, you do get their Logic handguard. If I remember correctly, this is a 12-inch handguard. I do wish that it was a little bit longer. It would be ideal if it was a 13, in my opinion, or maybe even if it was a 12 and a half. But it is what it is. Obviously I could upgrade this handguard, but again, this is a budget banger build. It works. It does the job. It is very narrow. It is definitely a very lightweight upper. So once I had the decision was made that was the upper receiver that I was going to go with, I was set. So next step was, since I knew that I was getting the enhanced upper, I wanted to go ahead and get their enhanced lower. I didn't plan on getting a Ballistic Advantage right off the bat, but when I started looking into it, that's what I decided on. So with the lower, I did go with a strip lower because I knew I wanted to build it up completely myself. So my overall purposes for this gun was, again, besides being an upgraded budget banger, I did want it to still be solid. Wasn't going to be my quote-unquote go-to-war gun, but I didn't want it to be a complete turd either. And I know, depending on who you ask on the internet and the different forums, they may debate whether Ballistic Advantage is garbage or if it's mid-tier or whatever it may possibly be. In my opinion, again, with based on my prior experience, my 14.5 Ballistic Advantage upper, it fit the bill for me. So I was happy with the decision I went with the 13.9. Again, I wanted it also to be as short as possible without making it an NFA item. So 13.9, and then I also wanted to be able to. While as I go through the gun, you may look at some of the parts and accessories I have on it and say that's definitely not a budget banger. The gun overall, with everything added to it, definitely was not cheap. But just because you have a less than high tier barrel, receiver, handguard, doesn't mean that you got to go cheap on the accessories also, because I did do that a bit on my last budget banger. Before I go into the accessories that I have on here and the optic choices and lights and whatnot, I do want to go over my choices for the lower. So, as I mentioned, I already knew that I was going to go ahead and go with the Ballistic Advantage enhanced lower. And then it came time to choosing all of the different parts for it. And first and foremost, it was going to be, okay, so what kind of recoil system do I want on it? So up to this point, I had never messed with a A5 system. Quick lesson for anybody who doesn't know about the A5. It was originally designed by Voltor. Basically what it does is it gives you a rifle length receiver extension, and you're going to be using a rifle length spring, which it's I don't remember all the particulars about it, but the big thing about it is they say it's supposed to make it more reliable. And the big thing is it's supposed to make it a softer shooter. So I decided I wanted to go ahead and give that one a try. I didn't get the Voltor A5. There's other companies out there that offer it. Forward Controls Design is a big proponent of it. So is Sons of Liberty. Gunworks, but Bravo Company, they do make their own system. It's called the MK2. And at that point, when I was starting to piece together components, I believe it was Primary Arms had a really good deal on the system where it came with the receiver extension, it came with the BCM end plate, castle nut, rifle spring, and their buffer. So the buffers, they're not your typical Voltors. I'm not sure if they're the exact same weights. They have it, standard buffers. You got, a heavy or an H1, H2, H3, H4, and so on. When it comes to their MK2 system, BCM goes by T's. So they got a T0, T1, T2, T3. Doing a little bit of research, it seemed that for a 13.9, that a T2 would be the best choice for it. So that's the kit that I bought. Came to a trigger. I knew I definitely wanted a Geisley trigger. I love Geisley triggers. I do like. I have SSPs and SSAEs. Some of my other videos I went over their different. I did a comparison between those and the LaRue triggers, the MPTs, both single and two stage, along with a Sons of Liberty Gunworks. So just definitely decided I want to go with the SSP on this gun. For the lower parts kit, I went with the Sons of Liberty Gunworks blaster kit, which really, I guess at the end of the day, the only parts that I even ended up using out of that were the takedown pins, along with the, I think that's really about it, because I ended up changing parts out. Ended up going with some Forward Controls Design parts because I am left-handed. I went over in one of my earlier videos some left-handed enhancements by Forward Controls Design. So between their ambi mag release and their rearward bias bolt catch, definitely were big lifesavers. For a lefty like me, in my opinion, it's one of those things that are a must-have. And then for the safety, the Radiant Talon, they were, I know lately they've been getting a lot of flack for malfunctioning or have the potential to malfunction, but for a long time they were considered some of the best. I do feel that the Badger Ordnance C1 is better than this one, but it's also quite a bit of money, and I ended up picking up two of these Radiant Talons for a really good price on AR15.com's equipment exchange. So that's what I went with here. Works very well for me. And just going back a little bit, this comes with the kit, having the QD attachment back here for a sling. Even though I typically run a QD back here on the stock, I do also like having the option for a QD option attachment point back here. So everything went together very well. Nothing was out of spec. Everything went together very easily. See here, one last little upgrade that I didn't mention here was the Forward Controls Design reinforced buffer retaining pin. Again, don't know if that's really snake oil, and really it shouldn't be an issue, but went ahead and picked it up anyway. And then for the grip, I went with the MK Machining Vertical Crossover Grip, or VCG. I know these have definitely been gaining more and more popularity. You see, it does have a very more pronounced vertical angle on it. I went ahead, I wanted to give it a shot. Be honest with you, when I first got it, I was not super impressed with it. It is extremely girthy, if you can see here. So if you have very large grips, you're probably going to like this one a lot. And it wasn't the girthiness that got me. It was the very aggressive checkering on it. It almost hurt my hands when I gripped it. After handling the gun for a bit, shooting it for a little bit, it felt like my hand was a little bit tore up. And what ended up helping with that one was after I rattle can the gun, it's now to the point where it just feels, I guess, normal. And for the buttstock, you see I went with the Volter iMod. Definitely really love these. These are one of my favorites if I'm not running a B5 top mod. I'm running either a Volter iMod or a Volter eMod. Going back to the upper receiver, the option I chose did not come with a bolt carrier group. I knew I wanted to get something a little bit different. You see here I do have the Sons of Liberty Gunworks BCG in here. Definitely a very solid option. Got a great deal on it. Again, I think Primary Arms was running a sale. They had them for like 120 bucks, I believe what it was. So that was an easy choice to go with. I do have another one of these that I run in my IWI Zion 15. I know Sons of Liberty Gunworks is considered one of the really good manufacturers out there, so I had faith in that one. For the charging handle, I went with the Radian Raptor. I do definitely love these Radian Raptors charging handles. Started off with the LT, which is the plastic version. This one's aluminum, the standard one. Now going on to the accessories on here a bit. For a sighting system, I am running one of the ScalarWorks fixed front sights, and I am running a Magpul MBUS Pro on the rear. I would have ran a ScalarWorks fixed rear had I not been running a magnifier. So as I mentioned in my red dot height mounting height video, this was the first time that I ever messed with a 193 mount. Everything had always been typically lower third, though I had some absolute co-witness mounts in the past also. So first 193, first time messing with the ScalarWorks mount. Definitely a very solid mount. Their attachment, even though it's not a true QD like you have with the throw lever, it does come off toollessly. So just a couple cranks with the wheel, gets it off. Has a real solid return to zero quality to it. And then for the magnifier, I have the EOTech G33. One of the things that I struggled with on this is the 7mm shim that comes with the G33 pairs up with the EOTech's version of lower third. Don't have that number off the top of my head. In fact, I don't think I've ever even been able to find it. But it does not match, even though when you look at it like this, it seems like it matches up very well. But if I hold it at the right angle, I think you would notice that it is not exactly on the same plane. Had tried different mounts, or I should say different shims. The ones I had purchased were from Vortex. Vortex is 6-power magnifier. They have a shim, I think it's a 3mm and a, let me take that back. I think they got a lower third, and then they got one with some 193. Vortex was very happy to send some out to me free of charge, actually, and I didn't even ask them to send it free of charge. They just went ahead and sent it to me. Very stoked, very cool of them. Also sent a hat. But I did notice that when I put their Vortex 193 shim in here, it sat taller, and there was more of a mismatch with that shim than there is with a low mismatch with the 7mm. So again, when it comes to magnifiers, it doesn't have to exactly be on the same plane. It can be a little bit annoying. It does make the eye box a little bit tighter, I found, but I just live with it. I've gotten used to it at this point. So that's how I'm running it. 7mm shim with the ScalarWorks 193 paired up with my Aimpoint H2. So again, I wanted to have a solid optic on here. Well, I had the 515 on my other build. Got the H2 for a really great price. Definitely already tons of information out there regarding that. Do have the 100 Concepts new hex caps on here. You see it as an ARD that simply snaps into place. Easily on, easy off, but not to the point where it's going to just fall off. So, but actually time will tell, I guess, right? When I go to the range and put some rounds through it, because I have not shot the gun with this on there yet. So we'll see. And then I have the KAC battery cap on here, which allows you to store an extra CR2032 battery underneath the cap in case you need it. Going on to light system, I did go with the mod light on this. Do have a Arasaka 18650 body light. PLHV2 is what I prefer. First mod light was a OKW, and honestly, it is so tight of a beam pattern. I'm not really a big fan of the OKW. So PLHV2, Surefire DS00 tail cap. Again, also another big preference of mine. Even though I am running the Unity hot button, the M-Lock version here that mounts into the handguard at the 1 o'clock position. Things can fail. Switches can fail. Wires can get cut. So I like having the backup of having a button on the tail cap also. So I typically always go with the DS00s. For wire management, you can kind of see what I got going on here. The longer cable of the Unity hot button just kind of wrapped around the front of the sight. It's kind of captured a little bit by the base of the Scholarworks sight. And then I do just have a cheap Amazon M-Lock cable management guide there. It keeps everything nice and compact and for the most part tangle free. And I say most part because obviously you could snag it here, but pretty low chance of that happening. For rail covers, I'm just using the Slate Black Industries rail covers. I know rail scales are really the Gucci option, but even though I will spring for rail scales, LDEGs, and anchors, I just can't bring myself to spring for any of their rail covers. And these ones have done the job just fine. See, they're definitely pretty solid, even if they're Chinese made. For vertical grip, I did already have the tangled down stubby. I'm definitely a big fan of the tangled down stubby. Have never tried, while they do offer an M-Lock version of this. Being that I already had this one on hand, all I did was get one of the Magpul M-Lock Picatinny rail sections, the 3-slot, and that's what has my vertical foregrip mounted onto the rail system. Once I got the lower built up and the components on the upper installed and changed out like I wanted to, when I had it back together, I was super proud of myself. I was very stoked with the build. It was beautiful, beautiful gun. I'll put in some pictures of it. Also, I'll drop some videos, pictures in what it looked like before I rattle canned it. But like I mentioned before, everything went together very smoothly. The action was very smooth. I am just running the standard power spring. I didn't decide to go with the Sprinco, even though I know the Sprinco grain is still just a standard rifle. But everything fit and went together the way that it should. It has a real nice sound to the action there, and then it came down to shooting it. So, anytime I think when you put a build together, or you change out a bunch of parts, be curious to see if you're running any systems. But considering that this was a complete build, I wasn't anticipating any. If anything, I was more interested to see how the BCM A5 system was going to do. And when I went to the range, I was actually very disappointed. Anytime I have a brand new gun, I typically will run M193 or M855 through it first. Some good full power 5.56 loads. I'll shoot a couple mags of it through it, and then I will try running some 223. So for 223, and when my range ammo, admittedly I do run Tula and Wolf. I've ran steel case for 20 plus years. Never have had an issue with it, with the exception of some, I believe it was brown bear. It was some of that lacquer coated steel. I believe that some of the lacquer had built up inside of the chamber and caused it to stick. I had one stuck chamber one time. When I say stuck, it just didn't pull out of the way. Ran through a brush through it, ran through the rest of that ammo, and have never had an issue with it again. But Tula is also considered some of the really weak ammo when it comes to 223. Obviously, 223 is not as hot as 5.56, but in the world of 223, Tula is definitely considered one of the least powerful ones. And the problems that I ran into it was once I tried cycling 223 or shooting 223, it would not lock back on an empty magazine. It would cycle the gun, it would extract, it would pick up the next round, but when it came to an empty, it wouldn't lock back. And that one was actually a really big shock to me because I have never ran into that problem before with an AR. Not that I've had a plethora of them, but I think up to this point I had at least four, maybe five ARs over my life, shooting Tula and Wolf 223, and I had never ran into that problem. So somehow it's a minor short stroking issue, and it really caught me off guard. Reached out to Ballistic Advantage. Actually, let me backtrack. I did also try um, different uppers on the lower receiver, and I had that same issue. So I didn't think it had anything to do with the BCM system on there. And I did also try the upper on different lowers and ran into the same problem. So I think that, that kind of really helped narrow it down to I had an issue with the upper. So, a couple different things that you can look at after doing a lot of research. Obviously, gas block alignment can be an issue if the gas port in the barrel isn't perfectly lined up with the gas port in the gas block itself. It cannot be getting the gas that it needs. In addition to that, you could have where the gas tube is coming through the upper receiver. You can see sticking, actually take this apart. Where the gas tube comes through right there and engages the gas key on your bolt carrier group. There can be, the gas tube in here can be coming through at a little bit of an angle and interfering slightly with the gas key on your BCG. Obviously, it could also be a problem with the BCG, and I did also try different ones of them. Same result. One of the tests that I read about you can do online is to test for that interference is to go ahead and pull the bolt out itself, take the charging handle out, put the receiver straight up and down, and let the BCG drop in. Obviously load it in the upper receiver and then drop it in and see if you see any hesitation whatsoever as the bolt carrier group, or in this case just a carrier, engages with the gas tube coming through. Didn't see any of that whatsoever. So emailed all this information to Ballistic Advantage. Had also heard and read in different forums that the Hanson profiles are typically known to be a little bit undergassed. And some might even say that if it ran fine on M193 and M855, but not 223, they say that that is properly gassed. Looking at the ejection pattern, I know an ejection pattern shouldn't be a key indicator of how well your gun is gassed. It is something to take into consideration. But there are several manufacturers, including high-name manufacturers. I believe Knight's Armament, and I may be wrong about that, but I believe KAC is one of those that will not run standard 223, being that it is their intent to run pretty much on M193. So being a battle rifle, that's what you should be running through it. Some people may say that if it cycles 223, then your gun is definitely overgassed. But anyway, so emailed all that information to Ballistic Advantage, let them know of all the troubleshooting steps that I went through, and they sent me an RMA for it. They said go ahead and go ahead and send it back. We'll take a look at the gas block alignment on them, and I had told them that even if the gas block alignment is good, that I did want it to run commercial 223, since I shoot that a lot at the range. And I also know that with the suppressor that I chose, being the HXQD and its flow through design, that having increased back pressure wasn't going to be something that was going to help with this. But I just wanted to run everything. So I let them know that even if everything works out with the gas block alignment, that I did want to go ahead and open the gas port to the next size. So they sent me an RMA. I got it in the mail, and it made it to them on a Monday. They said they would email me back and let me know the status. And I want to say it was by Wednesday. I had a shipping notification, but didn't have any any idea of what the status was going to be. So sent it back to me. There was nothing in the package, nothing on the RMA that said what they did. I was very curious. It looked like everything was cleaned on it from when I shot it before, but I didn't know what they did. Had to reach out to them again, and they told me that they did go ahead and open the gas port to the next size. What the original size is, I don't know, and what the next size is, I'm not sure either. Um, but I did get a little bit, I don't know if you want to say irritated with the lack of communication, but at the end of the day, I was very thrilled that they took care of me. Went ahead and opened it. Like I said, I was not expecting that to be a free service. They did not charge me for it. And like I mentioned, the gun made it there on a Monday, and I had it back to me on Thursday or Friday. So for just a few day turnaround, though Ballistic Advantage is only about a 2 hour drive away from where I live. Oh, I do also want to mention that one of the things that I had purchased in order to deal with the short stroking issue, after doing some more research, is I did pick up a Taran Tactical Ultimate Lightspeed Buffer Spring. He said that these are designed, or they're not designed for it, but from what I had read, they can help with ARs that have short stroke issues. Several reviews on their website, information I found online. So I went ahead and ordered this cheap. I think it was only like 17 bucks. I had tried that out also, along with running a carbine spring. And one thing that I was suspect on is that this Taran Tactical Spring, they say that it'll work with both rifle length receiver extensions and carbine receiver extensions. And both those springs typically are very different lengths on them. So that made me a little bit suspicious. And while it did cycle fine with the Taran Tactical Spring in there, it was super springy. I mean, super duper springy. ARs are springy as it is, but it was really, really loud. And the action on it was just so weak. I mean, you could almost like take your pinky and pull the charging handle back on it. And to me, that was a band-aid solution on it, and it wasn't something that I wanted to be the be-all, end-all for this gun. But fortunately for me, once I got the gun back from Ballistic Advantage and they opened it up to the next gas port, the gun cycled great. Both 5.56 and 223 has a nice ejection pattern where it shoots out at 4 o'clock, 4:30 with both ammo, even suppressed with my HXQD. Ejects very nice and just runs like a sewing machine. So I am definitely very happy with that. I use this for besides being my budget banger, this is my gun of choice when I travel, being it is the shortest length overall that you can have and can still be considered a rifle. It is a gun that, even though overall the whole package definitely was not inexpensive, it is a hell of a lot cheaper than some of the other guns that I have. So if you want to call this my trunk gun, this is my trunk gun, and it goes with me everywhere that I go. I do have permission to go to some other states with some of my NFA items, but typically this is what I have. I found it to be reliable. The accuracy is pretty decent with it, as much as I need it to be for a for a 13.9 gun. Obviously every gun should be accurate, even if you have a 10.3. But I've been happy with it. So that's it. That is my overview and build list of my 13.9 Ballistic Advantage Hanson profile barrel and complete upper, and then my built lower. So definitely appreciate the views and feedback that I've been getting. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you like this video, check out some of the other content that I have on my page. Please comment, like, subscribe, share the video. They definitely like getting the feedback from everybody. So again, hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good night.